All right, we're live. Welcome in.
I got to get the banner up. I'm running the board again today, so
Oh
it's.
my God, yeah,
I got to remember
amateur
all this.
amateur hour with the flipped because I've got a very boring hotel room background.
Yes.
Interesting hotel. I'm in Indianapolis. I'm in downtown Indianapolis for a conference, and I'm at the Hyatt Regency, and there's the fire alarm was going off when I got back. And I'm like, should I be here?
That's not good.
People are scrambling around, and I'm like, I didn't leave the iron on, did I?
Oh, you thought it was you, possibly?
No,
Oh.
of course not. But it's one of those where you're like, could it be me? Right? Like, did I possibly have something? But I don't know. It seems like a false alarm because there was fire truck out. Firefighters came. Our friend Danny Meehan would be proud. Firefighters in full gear, but they all look a little irritated. Like, why are we
false
here?
Alarm, yeah, probably.
Kind of thing. Yeah, so it looked like a false alarm. So they did not look worried. So I decided that I shouldn't be worried, and I figured the show must go on.
The show. Look at you. You're such a pro, man.
Yeah.
So you ready to get this podcast kicked off here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Berckes, a writer for Windy City Gridiron, and I'm joined by the editor of that fine website, Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. Lester, I'm on the road. I got to watch Bears Colts joint practice today. And how was your day viewing it from home?
It was nice. I worked today. I didn't get a chance to take the day off and make the trip to Indy like you. So I'm a little jealous. That's kind of cool to have a chance to go there. We'll talk about that in a second. But my day was nice, just work. And then it's nice here. It's in like the mid 80s. So as soon as I got off the real job, I worked from home today. I jumped in the pool. I just kind of relaxed in there, kind of just hanging out. I got the show prepped and ready to go. I'm running the board today. As you guys who are watching can see, I'm on the wrong side. Jeff's over there. So it may be a little discombobulated as I try and navigate the board stuff.
Yeah, you'll do great. So, yes, it's interesting to go to another team's practice. I was thinking about this as a kid. Number one Bears fan took us to a Denver Broncos practice in Greeley, Colorado.
Oh.
Because that was a time period that John Elway was the quarterback, and we were on vacation in Colorado. I think that's probably the only other team's practice that I've ever been to besides the Bears. And so, you don't know what to expect. Big facility, like this grand park is very grand. I mean, they got tons of ball fields, parking lots, just this huge area in Indianapolis. We get there, it's just like a couple guys along the pathway scanning your tickets, right? Like, it's like total opposite of the choke point at Hallis Hall where, everybody's bussed in, right? I mean, just you parked your car, you walked in. And then, kind of similar to Hallis where they've got the kids zone and stuff happening for the kids and everything. And then they had like a giant grandstand, like really big, much bigger than what they have at Hallis. I think it went so it's two football fields, like side to side. So 100 yards, a few yards of space, 120 yards, I should say, a few yards of space, and then another 120 yards. So two full football fields.
But that's different than Hallis. Hallis is like their
width-wise together, right? So this was, length, toe to toe, whatever you want to say. And their grandstands, I don't know what yard line it started at, but I want to say like maybe the 20, and then like all the way down to the other 20 or something. And they had little tents for people to be in on the other side of that. We saw George McCaskey, man of the people, walking the grandstands. I'm not sure why. Maybe just wanted to show his face, and then he disappeared.
That's just George, man. George is always there. I mean, that's his thing. He loves the people. He loves being out there and mingling. Yep. That's just who he is as the chairman.
Yep, man of the people. It feels like every time I go to camp, I'm going to see George McCaskey.
Yeah.
So that's exciting that I saw him here too. So didn't get to say hi this time, but he was there. But it's a nice facility, and then the players enter from the opposite side of where you're at, like through some trees, like there's kind of this
I
tree
saw that on
line.
Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of come out, and it was like, oh, that's interesting, which is, obviously a little different than at House where they just come out of the building, or if you're at the other fields, they have to kind of walk down and they have to rope it off. So it seems like they got a nice little facility there. Not a lot of shade, just a little bit if you get behind one part of the grandstand. But we set up on one field. I heard from somebody early, they said, well, I think the team drills are going to happen on the south field. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, inside information, right? That's exciting.
You
And
always
so,
got to listen for those things,
yep,
because
yep.
you never know. Yeah.
So we set up there, and then I saw our friend Luis Medina, who's a Bleacher Report guy, Bleacher Nation guy, and so I said, "Hey, I heard this." And as I'm walking down, I hear another person say, "Well, one side's going to have the number one Bears offense and number one Colts defense, and then the other side's going to do the opposite. So it's going to be, the Bears defense, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. So they utilized both fields, and they had things going on at the same time. So there's no way to watch all of the practice. You could kind of sneak a peek over at the other field. But for the most part, we were right in front of the offense, which didn't hurt my feelings
Nice.
any. And I caught a little bit of what was happening on the other field, which we'll get into a little bit. But it's an interesting setup, and they were very. Everybody's very friendly. I mean, there's no rivalry here with the Colts.
No.
There's maybe a lot of towns in this part of the state, like northwest Indiana, I guess, would have split loyalties, and so I could see there being some issues. There's no real rivalry here, but for the most part, people were pretty cordial to each other. There's a couple yahoos that were wearing Packers gear. I don't understand. Like one guy had a Jair Alexander, and I go, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" And he just goes, "Go Pack, go!" Right? I mean, just like they're just
There's
people that,
always those guys. Yeah.
yeah, knuckleheads, as you would call them.
You saw Ed Sprinkle jersey in the wild, though.
Unbelievable. Almost went
Is that
over
your
and
first
gave.
ever?
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
Okay.
So that's exciting. So I assume that guy had to have that custom made, because
Yeah.
I don't think that they would have just sold that out on the open market. I don't think that's been an offering from ChicagoBears.com. But that was very impressive. He wins the night. I saw a Tom Waddle jersey. That one was pretty good. You see the typical. There's tons of fields, obviously, and current players, but you see the typical, like Brandon Marshall. I saw 3 different Tillman jerseys. Saw some Hester. I saw a Hester Miami jersey. That was pretty unique.
Nice.
I don't see much of that. I've seen like Urlacher, New Mexico jerseys in the wild.
Yeah.
But I've never seen this Hester Miami jersey. So that was fun.
Nice. So pre-show, you were telling me that when you were there, it seemed like it was about 60-40 Colts fans, which still 40% Bears fans. Obviously, Bears fans always travel well, but Indiana, prior to the Colts moving there, Indiana was pretty much a Bears state, back in the day. So I'm sure there are still a lot of holdovers there that are there watching the Bears. So 60-40, not bad. I'm sure tomorrow will probably be the same there. So before we jump into Trent's tribute, how we always start our show, I want to ask you one more question about the experience there. So I noticed you didn't do any video. Is that because they had a video policy, or is that just because you're just like, let's just kind of be chill and make sure we don't get in trouble?
I was a little worried. I didn't know. Were other people tweeting video? Do you know?
There were a few, but there
Okay.
wasn't a lot.
There were very big signs that said "video strictly prohibited."
Okay,
And
that's
so
good.
I wanted to respect that.
Rule
And
follower.
I
I can
just,
respect it. Exactly.
yep, wanted to respect that. But it did not look like there were people patrolling or anything. I did see our old friend. He was present, but
Was
he
he
wasn't.
watching you? He was watching.
He
you,
didn't.
I'm sure.
He didn't. I don't
Okay.
think he saw me. We'll put it that
Okay.
way. But we definitely saw him, which is what he wants, right? Like he wants
Yeah.
wants to be noticed. But no, I just, there's a giant sign. I can
That's
can
good.
read. So I followed the rules.
Good job. Good job. All right, you want to kick this off with our Trench tribute, like we always start here. I feel weird being on this side of the screen. I feel like I have to lead into the categories because, I'm in the JB role today. So let's go to Trench tribute. You were there, so of the trenches, who stood out to you most today?
Right. So I'm mostly watching the offense, and I wasn't able to. We keep getting sat away from the linemen. We're gonna have to put in like a
When they do their
special
drills, yeah.
Yeah, so they were on the other side of the field. Like I was in front of like the linebackers and the DBs doing drills, which I like that stuff. But I would like to watch the lines. So it really comes down to like the team drill play, for the most part, my position was best to watch the wide receivers. To be quite honest with you, I was in that spot. But overall, I can say that I thought that the starting offensive line, so it's not a specific person, but the starting offensive line did a nice job giving Justin protection. There were most of the dropbacks that he had on the team drills, he had enough time to get the ball away. And so I think overall, you might be seeing some development here from this starting five as
The
they start to work
cohesion.
together here,
Yeah.
right? You got Nate Davis is back. Whitehair's getting settled into the center spot again. Like everybody's, in there together now. And there were multiple plays where Justin was not at all pressured, which was nice, which allowed him to deliver some really good balls.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Nate Davis is back. He kind of came back earlier in the week. Our guy Mason West talked about how it was an injury, something legitimate was there. He didn't want to talk about it when he had his press conference, but he's back. He said it's all that matters now, and the Bears kind of worked him in there at the right guard spot along with Jatari Carter. So, but like you said, some cohesion is building there, and that's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing I can say, and I don't think I'm spoiling too much, but one of the big explosive plays here was a big run by Foreman, and that would have been, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, I would think that would have been right between Tevin Jenkins and Braxton Jones, and so right off the left side there. So I think that might be a spot to watch for some explosive runs here because you got a couple guys that can do it, and I think that that's probably the strength of that left side of the line is some, which is weird. Again, that's
Yeah.
typically a right side line thing, but that left side of the line, I think, is going to do some road grading.
You mentioned Tevin Jenkins, and I was kind of watched some of the tweets pop off today, and it seemed like there was one or two plays where the Colts may have nudged against Justin Fields a bit late on a couple plays, and I saw something where Tevin Jenkins kind of got in someone's face. I mean, there were no altercations. Obviously, this is a friendly practice here, but I did see Tevin Jenkins was the guy that kind of stepped up and say, "Hey, back the f off my quarterback."
Yeah, I saw that a little bit. There was one play where Justin threw an interception, but he got hit, which again, that's going to happen in a real game, and so you
Yeah,
can't throw that ball. But he's also of the mindset that he's not going to get touched here, so he's
yeah,
going to let the ball loose. So it's one of those things where people are like, "Oh, Justin Fields just threw an interception." It's like, yeah, but like right when it came off of he got hit as he throws it before I didn't even have to watch it. That ball was going to get picked, right?
yeah.
You know that when you see it. But it may have been Tevin. That pressure may have been around Jenkins. May have been Jenkins' guy, and so he was probably first on the
Extra.
scene because
Yeah,
it was his guy that
yeah.
caused that pressure. So uh, that's and we don't have the player anymore that decided to come in and calm that down, right? When Tevin Jenkins did that the first time.
The
So
Jermaine Fetty game. That's
yes,
terrible. Yeah.
exactly. I wasn't going to mention his name. I wasn't sure
Terrible.
we could say that name on our show, but I think that Tevin Jenkins is now more of the like leader, right? Like
Right?
he's established here, and he's the guy that like is going to set the tone, and that attitude is something that's going to be embraced rather than whatever the heck happened in that game with Jermaine Ifedi.
That's really quick. I want to before we move on. I want to talk about little Jenkins. This is his third year, obviously, on the Bears, so he's a veteran now. Yeah, he's had some injuries in the past, but Cody Whitehair obviously is the leader of that unit. He's the veteran. He's the center. He's been there for a long time, but he's never been kind of a vocal guy. He's kind of been more of a lead by example kind of player. And then the other guys, obviously, we have a second-year pro in Braxton Jones, a rookie at right tackle in Darnell Wright, a brand new guy, Nate Davis. Tevin Jenkins, he may have more of a leadership role this year, especially if he brings that attitude, and then the other team the other guys on the line kind of feed off that. I love that on my O line. I want a couple of guys that are pricks up there to kind of set the tone. Don't mess with my quarterback. Help your guys up. Don't hit my guy late. Let the defense know that you're not going to stand for that kind of BS.
Yeah, set the tone, set the tempo. I think the same thing. It'd be interesting to see where Darnell Wright fits in there. I don't see that sort of attitude from Braxton Jones, which that's fine, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But Darnell Wright, rookie, we'll see where he goes, but you could see him maybe sort of getting that streak going a little bit too. I don't see it on a Nate Davis. He doesn't seem like the guy so far to want to mix it up, or I'm sure he
Even
would.
practice for that matter. So
Right, you gotta show us something, But yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment of what his role can be this year, and if he wants to stick, with this team, that's a really good way to approach that, to be the leader and to set the tempo.
Nice. I like it. All right, let's take a quick break for the podcast side of things. We can put a commercial in there, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, Jeff. Again, I feel awkward being on this side, kind of running the board. I feel like I'm obligated to kind of take the lead here, but it's okay. I can do it. So you said you were on the offensive side of the field. You saw most of the offensive stuff. So we'll save the offensive highlights for in a little bit here. But let's talk a little bit about the defensive side of things. I know you didn't see much, but it's kind of also to kind of play into this section. We'll also talk about the special team. So on defense, did you see anything stand out to you on the defensive side that you can speak on?
Yeah, I mean, just the one play that I saw that sticks out is that Eddie Jackson had an interception off of the rookie quarterback Richardson. It looked like he took it to the house, and they're playing with live whistles, so to me that was a pick six. You could say, well, in a game, you don't know. Yeah, sure, but they're going to play until the play's dead.
Yeah.
So I'm chalking that up to a pick six for Eddie, who's got a nose for the end zone, right? Like we know that he likes the ball in his hand and can take it back. And so that was good to see. I didn't see the actual throw. I just heard like a little bit of commotion, looked over, Eddie had the ball, making moves, scores a touchdown. So that was kind of the standout there. I didn't hear anything else from that side. I did watch some special teams drills because the punt drills for both teams were going on, and I could easily kind of watch what was happening there. Gill looked like he was getting good distance on the ball, so I got to mention the guillotine. But I will say on the full live punt action on the punt returns, the Colts gashed the Bears a few times. So I'm curious what happens there with the punt coverage team, if there's something going on there, if they don't have their guys quite set up. But there was a few pretty good returns overall. And then I think the thing that most Bears fans will be interested in is who was returning punts for the Bears, given Velus Jones's struggles in that department. I was curious to see where he was going to be at, if he was going to be at all, if they've kind of moved on. But he was given the first crack during the reps. The second person was Dante Pettis, and the third was Simba Webster. And so that was, I think, of note to Bears fans there that was the order that they walked into second week of the preseason of where they expect punt returns to be. I will say that Velus had a couple of opportunities in the offense. I know I'm moving to offense now.
It's okay. It's all about Velus right now. That's good.
But it's kind of about this like last roster spot, right? This last six wide receiver spot. Had a few passes, made a nice play downfield on one of them. I don't want to say he had a drop, but like didn't haul in another like a more difficult pass. Pettis had a drop, and Simba Webster actually had a pretty good play downfield. So it's just one of those where it's like, no one's really standing out, no one's taking control here. But I was a little surprised that Webster still, he's still getting reps and he's actually doing pretty. He did pretty well with those tonight during those like one-on-one drills. This guy's got some speed. Like that, you could tell them pulling away from the corners pretty easy. Like they get a step or two on guys, and it was just a matter of if the player that was throwing the ball was wearing number 1, the ball was pretty much on target every time. Down with downfield throws, if the number on the jersey for the Bears was 15 throwing the ball, it maybe wasn't as on target, right? So you could tell the difference between Justin and the other quarterbacks. A lot of the drills had Nathan Peterman in them from my side. So like two of the quarterbacks were throwing one way, and two of the quarterbacks were throwing the other way and going back and forth. And so for part of it, it was Fields and Peterman. And so it was just kind of funny, like, I'm trying to like tweet, and then I look up and I can just kind of tell by how the ball's thrown who's throwing it. And I was like, oh, that was Peterman. Okay. Yep. But that I saw a few from the rookie, and he's got a nice arm. He's pretty interesting. He's still kind of hanging around there. I'm curious to see if he can develop on the practice squad. So yeah. Anyway, the punt return I think is interesting, and then maybe I'll try to watch some defense tomorrow.
So real quick on the special teams. Now, you mentioned the 3 guys you saw return punts. That's not to say that rookie Tyler Scott didn't return punts. Just a lot going on. You didn't catch that. So, I mean, I'll have to go back and check Twitter, see if he was back there. But, Scott had a up and down preseason game, and he's had some inconsistency in practice. So maybe the Bears are just going with those 3 guys right now.
Well, I don't think he returned one, but I don't know
Okay.
that he I don't know that he was out there.
Okay.
So I didn't see him in any pass. What's his number off the top of your head? Is he 13?
13, yeah.
He was standing over there, so but I don't think I saw him field one.
There
So
was a list of walking wounded today. They're kind of working on the bike. Maybe he was among them. I'm not sure. I didn't catch that. But I will, before we go to offense, and we'll talk about some defensive stuff, some stuff I kind of caught on, via Twitter, by the live streaming guys. Eddie Jackson, towards the end, he kind of got banged up a little bit. He had a big hit on somebody. But they say he seems to be fine. And then Micah Baskerville, the undrafted free agent linebacker, who kind of flashed a bit in the preseason game and has flashed a little bit in Bears camp. He closed the finals red zone session with a pick. So that was nice to see Baskerville there. So, and then also on defensive, DeMarcus Walker, who has been missing some practice because of injuries. He was back in full pads today, so he was back. So it's good that the Bears O line or the Bears D line is getting much more healthier. Now, how about Yannick Ngakoue? Did I get the name right?
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yes. Was he out there today?
Did not see him, but
okay.
I did see Dominique Robinson with his new number 90.
Number 90.
So that transaction must have gone through. We'll be curious to see how much that cost Yannick.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a pretty penny, but he can afford it. He has got a nice deal here. So let's jump over to the offense, because that's, of course, you were watching the offense most of the day. You're kind of seated right there. You mentioned some of the big plays, and that was the theme of Twitter as I was kind of following along with the practices. On the defensive side of things, they said that Anthony Richardson, who is the Colts starting quarterback rookie, had a rough game, probably had one of his rougher games, obviously going against the Bears. It's not quite as vanilla here during the team portion stuff during the joint practice. So he had a rough day. But on offense, who all stood out to you besides obviously Justin Fields had hit some nice moments. Who else stood out for you on offense?
Well, I think the running game is going to be really interesting. I mean, this is not a surprise for a team that was the number 1 rushing team in the game last year. But you could just tell that there's a lot of explosive play energy coming from these running backs. You saw it from Deonta Foreman. Talk about that. That was probably the run of the day. But Juice Herbert had another nice run. He looks like he's ready to just kind of explode. And then Roshan Johnson looks really good. So all 3 of those guys, it looks like a really fun.
It's a good stable. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And it's impressive. And I think as these offensive linemen get gelled and start working together and, know how to work through these plays together, it's going to be pretty exciting. I think that these, again, this doesn't have to be an anti-David Montgomery thing, but he wasn't an explosive running back. He was more of a cloud, 3 yards of cloud of dust kind of back. These guys all can break it. And so that's really cool. The Foreman run was coming right at us. And there was this spot, I was like, oh man, he's going to stiff arm him. And I'm just like, is he going to you just one of those, can he knock him out with this stiff arm? And, he did stiff arm him, but right as he puts his hand up, they blew the whistle. They're like, we're not going to let this go, so it sort of backed off a little bit right when he went to stiff arm. But besides the running game, the DJ Moore connection is real. I mean, he's an excellent wide receiver. The Colts really don't have a lot of answers for DJ Moore, and I don't think a lot of people around the league are going to have a lot of answers for DJ Moore, and so that's good. I wanted to mention Darius Fountain. Made a couple of plays. So I believe he's from my alma mater, University of Northern Iowa. So that's exciting to see a guy like that be able to step up and make some plays. I think this guy's got a chance to stick around on the practice squad, and maybe an injury provides him an opportunity to contribute at some point. But some long passes down the field he was able to come up with, and just a guy that we talked about when we were at camp. Saw him, who is this guy? What's he doing, right? And they cut Cruikshank early, and this guy stuck around, and it looks like he's maybe making enough plays to maybe have a future here. So that's pretty interesting.
Well, you mentioned Dries Fountain. Isaiah Ford also has had a nice camp so far. You also talked about Simba Webster. So suddenly the Bears have a few guys that they probably feel comfortable with on the practice squad that they can kind of pull from. Plus, the Bears still have that number one spot in the waiver wire. So as teams cut some players, there are going to be some tough cuts, obviously around the league. The Bears may decide to bring a guy in at receiver there too, but it's nice to know that the Bears have a nice professional receiving core this year with DJ Moore just kind of setting the whole thing up. Chase Claypool obviously was missing again today. I did see that he was doing some work on the bike. From what I understand, it's none of these injuries in the Bears are serious, and it seems like they're just kind of being really cautious with them. So I think that's a smart play right here. Roshan Johnson, I did hear that he was getting some work with the ones, which he did earlier in the week of practice as well. So in that preseason game, he was mostly all reserve work. Maybe they're going to try and see what he can do with the starting O-line in front of him a little bit here against the Colts on Saturday.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of guys, particularly in our circle, that think that Roshan's just going to take over this job early. I'm not one of those guys because I really think that Herbert, Herbert's the guy. But I think that the most likely answer is that all three of these guys are going to see a lot of work, and I think that it's just because we don't know Foreman as a Bear long term, right? He's a free agent signee. We can't discount that this guy was incredibly efficient last year either, right? So you got to tip your cap to Ryan Poles for, I think, building a very interesting room. And I think that Bears fans are going to like all three of these guys. And so it's setting up to be like a really full and true committee, which I think is kind of interesting. A lot of times you think, well, that means you just don't really have anybody. No, I think all three of these guys could play anywhere. I'm not saying that they're the three best guys in the league by any stretch of the imagination, but all three of these guys could make every other roster in the league. And so I just think it's a real strength of this ball team.
I think for me, when I saw the Bears sign Foreman, we're going to talk fantasy football, but I had him on my fantasy. I picked him up late in one of my leagues, and this guy was like a killer down the stretch for me. So I'm like, wow, he put up some good numbers. I went back and looked at his broken tackle numbers, his efficiency numbers as a runner, yards after contact. He's a good football player. He just never really had much of a chance early on in his career. Some injuries kind of set him back, but when he took over for McCaffrey in Carolina, he did a lot. And then, of course, in the draft, they got Johnson. I'm not sure they planned on drafting a running back that high, but sometimes your board falls the way your board falls. And they took him because they also signed Travis Homer in as a free agent. So there's four guys I'm sure they're comfortable with right now that they can kind of put out there if they had to. And we saw this team lead the league last year in rushing. Obviously, a lot of that was Justin Fields, but they did a lot of stuff with Montgomery. Khalil Herbert, was the best yards per carry tailback in the league last year out of all backs. I mean, that's like, better than Chubb, better than all those guys, better than, the guy with the Giants, all of them. He was the guy, 5.7 yards per carry. And a lot of that's just because of the threat of Field. So this running attack is going to be huge again this season.
Yeah, 100%. And it's exciting that Roshan's coming along because at first we were a little, he's not practicing a lot. Maybe he's going to be a guy that's going to have to wait a long time. If he's already working in with the ones, that shows that they're starting to trust him. And so you can see him being part of the mix right from the start.
All right. Before we get out of here, any other guys on offense kind of stood out you want to make sure you mention before we do get out of here?
I did see Homer catch a pass. So,
okay.
I mean, he was in the mix. Again, I mentioned the rookie quarterback. I think he's got a pretty good arm. At one point, Nathan Peterman threw an interception, and the Colts fan in front of me started freaking out. I go, "Hey, man, it doesn't count. It's Nathan
it's Peterman.
Like, sorry. Like everybody gets one off of Peterman. That doesn't really count. I mean, not to give the guy too hard of a time, but it is a different level of play from those guys. No, I don't have anybody else that really stepped into the light for me today. But overall, I just want to say that it was an interesting experience being at a combined practice and having the fan base be pretty well even and pretty cordial to each other. I think it's a really cool thing, and so appreciate the Colts fans for welcoming the Bears fans, and Bears fans for being on their best behavior, which isn't always the case with Bears fans. So proud of you guys for not doing anything silly, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
Nice. Do you want to get us out of here?
Yeah, let's close up. So if you guys are interested in the fun T-shirts that we have going on, check out the 500 level and put in promo code Gridiron20. That helps us out and helps you out. Get 20% off. We got some good stuff up there. We got 5 of them out so far, and we've got another 2 that are hopefully getting approved soon, and then another 3 that are getting the design treatment right now. So check that out. Website's going to be popping. As we continue to crank up, and we're going to set our schedule here for what the season's going to look like. So stick with us, and we're excited about bringing some fun Bears football to you this year.
Nice.
All right, guys.
That's it. That's a wrap.
Until next time, bear down.
Nice. Got a few questions in the chat here. I'll kind of man the board here. Look at our guy from overseas. Look at this. 3:15 local time. I believe he's in Sweden, if I remember correctly. So he's going to catch us after. But the fact that he stuck on long enough to get a comment in here, man.
That's impressive.
I love it. I love it. Let's see here. Jones better in those punt return opportunities, at least better than Saturday, because Saturday obviously had the bobble.
Can you get worse than what was Saturday?
I mean, the best case scenario here is for Velus Jones to take this job, because he is clearly the most athletic guy. He's clearly has the most speed, the best run after the catch ability out of all these guys. Him figuring this out would be huge for this franchise. We just got to see it.
I didn't think that the first live one, it was like one-on-ones, if you will, from the punt. So they'd punt, the guy would catch it, but it was just like one gunner going against like the 2 blockers.
Yeah.
So whatever, and then there was like a full team one, and the full team one, like from where I was, I mean, I'm 60 yards away, right? I mean, it's that's not nothing. It looked like he was. It didn't look like the cleanest catch. But again, like it's hard from my angle. I was behind. I'm pretty far away, so I would defer to somebody who was closer. But the ball didn't hit the ground, so that's an improvement.
Yeah. One thing I did see from Twitter, obviously, is a lot of people saying Velus Jones had a nice game on offense. So his offensive side of things, he was getting deep a little bit. He had some nice hitches, and I mean, he's a lot, as fans were like, oh, he has to make it as a punt returner. But the Bears just may value him as a receiver. They may value his speed, his jet sweeps, end around, stuff like that. They can use him as a weapon. That may get him to stick on a roster, even if he's not returning punts.
Yeah, he had a deep catch. I mean, I know I saw one that was an incomplete pass. I'm not going to put a drop on him. I just know it was incomplete.
Yeah,
that was intended to him. But he had a touchdown deep. It was very nice. And I don't even think it was a Fields throw. I think it was somebody else throwing it. So,
I also heard that PJ Walker had a nice bounce back because he had a couple shaky practice. I heard he had a pretty nice day today. You mentioned a couple deep shots, and that kind of leads us to the next question. Obviously, the yards of the catch. Everyone talked about Fields and his stuff. So here we go. Andrew wants to know, was Fields' deep game was it pretty good today?
I mean, dead on. Like, I mean, he was just, it was money. So he had one to Mooney. Mooney was like tackled, tripped up, like basically at the 1. But it was a good ball. And he had that Darius Fountain throw was fantastic.
Darius Fountain, there's the name right there.
Right on the money, right? Well, almost to the point where I was like, why was Fields throwing to Darius Fountain, right?
Yeah.
But no, and again, these are one-on-ones, but Bears guy gets some separation, and I mean, Fields is putting it right on the money, like just dead on. So.
Nice. Yeah, here's Cloudy said a few beat writers talked about Fountain up a little bit here. You mentioned Tyson Badgett a little bit as a number 3 quarterback. You said that what you saw, he has a nice live arm. He looked pretty good today at camp.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it makes sense to try to keep him on the practice squad in some way, shape, or form and try to develop him out. He's not a guy that you're going to want to be the direct backup. That's not the question, but like you're not going to want him to be your number 2 right now. But, the Bears haven't really developed anybody like that for a while. It'd be kind of nice if you could do that. And he looks like he's got a live arm. So why not see if you can make that happen? And I think it's pronounced Bagent or something like that.
Bagent, Tyson Bagent.
That's what our buddy Sam was saying.
Okay, Sam would know. Sam went to Ball State, so he kind of knows those small school quarterbacks, possibly. Who knows? Look at this. Look at this. Bears fan. Thoughts on Jordan Love? Will they beat us week 1? Here we go. Our week 1 Packer prediction. Bears, Packers. Who you got?
I mean, I've got the Bears.
Let's go.
I mean, what are we doing? I mean, if people want to doubt Justin Fields, that's fine.
Yeah.
But he's certainly shown a lot more in this league than Jordan Love has.
Yeah.
So why are people giving Jordan Love the benefit of the doubt when Justin Fields has at least shown some elite traits in games, right? Like I don't know that Jordan Love has shown anything above average in some of his traits. So I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. If he's going to be at least decent, I don't actually want him to be terrible. I want him
Kirk
to be
Cousins, right?
I want him to be enough that the Packers fans think they have something, So a lot of Bears fans want to stomp on the grave of the Packers, and I get that. I totally get that. But you kind of want them to just be mediocre this year. That would be the worst punishment, is if they could win like 7 games.
Make it so they're not sure if Jordan Love's the guy.
Maybe he's the guy. Maybe he's okay.
Let's franchise tag him. Let's see what happens. Give him 1 more year. Then he does okay again. What do we do now? Let's re-sign him. I'm sure he's fine. So,
yep.
Cloudy says here the CHGO guys said he looked bad today. I'm just going off what I saw on Twitter, and I saw a few consecutive. Again, this is Twitter. This is not. I'm not there. I don't see what's going on. And like Jeff said, he can't watch everything. So I saw a few people saying he had a better bounce back. But again, we're talking about a low bar because Walker hasn't had the very most consistent camp here. So and then we already talked about Tyler Scott a little bit. You didn't notice him much today, number 13. He may have been one of the guys that was held out of.
Here's so again, let me so when they were doing stuff that wasn't team, they had the field cut in half. So basically everybody was hanging out around the 50. And like 2 quarterbacks were throwing to the north end zone and 2 quarterbacks were throwing to the south end zone. Fields was throwing to the north end zone on the south field, if that makes sense, right in front of where I was. So QB1 is throwing right in front of me. I don't have a reason to look anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And so Walker's throwing to the other side. So all that drill, I don't know what he's doing, right? And I don't know what Bagent's doing because it was Peterman that was with Fields for most of it. Walker got a lot of the second team reps, but I'm trying to catch up with Twitter to tell you guys what Fields did on the first team reps. So I don't catch about half of Walker's reps. So I don't really know how he did, right? And so Scott may have been on the other side of the field because I did not see him on any of the one-on-ones or anything like that. So again, it's really hard to catch everything. You're just catching a small segment of what's going on.
So real quick injury update. It's Tremaine Edmonds was out, Lucas Patrick, Josh Blackwell, Chase Claypool, DeMarquise Gate, Jaquan Brisker. But most of the guys are working some stuff on the bike. And like I said earlier, none of these seem serious. They all seem like you're just kind of like, I don't want to speculate, but whatever it is, it's minor enough to where they're able to kind of do some stuff on the side, work out a little bit, do the rehab, and kind of just watch what's going on. So nothing to be concerned with yet. We'll see as the offseason progresses, but right now, none of those injuries seem very, very serious.
No, and the only injury that I saw today was a Colts player went down, number 92. I don't know the name, but on a pass rush, and he just went down, grabbed his leg, and everybody just sort of surrounded him. Play stopped for about 5 minutes before things picked back up. But the Bears, I think, probably survived this practice without anything serious.
Nice. Well, I know it's kind of late for you. You're you're an hour ahead. You're 10:50 there, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up here. And then we're going to try and do this again tomorrow. You're going to go with travel schedule. We'll kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll probably see how it goes. But yeah, I'm taking an old friend to practice tomorrow. So
nice.
That'll be fun. She's a Colts fan, so it'll be fun to. Yep, yeah, it'll be fun. It's not like she's a Packers fan, right?
Yeah,
I mean, she's a Colts fan, so it'll be good.
No, there's nothing wrong with Colts fans. I know a few, and they're fine.
Yeah, we'll play it by ear tomorrow. We'll see what time we get back. It's a haul. It's about 40 minutes away from here, so it's not.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean it's a long drive, so it's makes for long days, but that's okay.
And then you're there in Indy for another couple days, or are you coming home right away?
I'll be back on Friday.
Okay. So I'm here. I'm home. I got nothing going on. So if you do get home or back to the hotel and it's early enough, shoot me a text. I'll set something up real quick and we'll be good to fire off another one of these quickies.
Nice. Sounds good.
All right. Take it easy.
All right. See you guys.